Hey guys, this is the Unveil podcast with DJ Wavy.
Yo, this is DJ Wavy. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Episode 3 of the Unveil podcast right here on YouTube. And you already know we're going to be giving you Caribbean news, content, pop culture, sports, music, basically anything and everything Caribbean. All right, first of all, let me shout out my crew members in studio with me today. We got our producer, Mr. Ming. Check him out on Instagram at Mr.Ming. That's your handle, right, bro? And the T-Boss. I can't call this other name on YouTube. Shout out to T-Boss, our videographer, DP, photographer, camera guy. Big ups to our in-studio audience today as well. So we're gonna get right into what we have for you guys today. So of course we're gonna talk about some news, some trends in and around the Caribbean, and finally we're gonna have our feature with this lady right here, Miss Lisa Hamilton, one of the top journalists right now in Guyana. All right, so what's going on in the Caribbean? The World Bank provides additional financing of $26 million to strengthen the flood risk management in Guyana. It says here the World Bank Board of Executive Directors approved $26 million in additional financing for Guyana to support the ongoing Guyana Flood Risk Management Project. These funds will help to improve Guyana's climate resilience, protect economic activity, and reduce the impact of natural disasters. Now, when I was young, we used to go on the seawall, right? And when it was rainy season, the seawall used to be, it wasn't really safe because Guyana is way below sea level. So any amount of rainfall is gonna be devastating for the Guyanese people. I remember one time we had a huge flood. I was pretty young, probably about 6 or 7 years old, and we even had to move from the city and go all the way to the countryside. Berbice, all my Berbicians watching. I don't know if y'all have internet in Berbice yet. But yeah, you guys should. I don't know if you guys remember that. Any Guyanese remember that? Let me know in the comment section below. Ozan Sevimili. That's how you pronounce his name. I do apologize. World Bank resident representative for Jamaica and Guyana said 90% of Guyana's inhabitants live on the narrow coastal plain, much of which lies below sea level. Yeah. Moving on, Haitian priest released after ransom paid. People that don't get more evil than that. You can't kidnap a priest. He's a man of God. Kidnappers have released Father Ronald Sylvain after $1 million Gordes was paid for his release. Father Sylvain had been kidnapped by armed individuals in Delmas on November 10, and he was just released this week. Wow, they had him for quite a long time. I wonder if y'all think the father prayed for his kidnappers? Any Catholics watching this today, you think the father prayed for his kidnappers? Let me know what's going on. China sets aside $1 billion loan for Caribbean region to buy COVID vaccines. The Antigua and Barbuda government says China is making available $1 billion that will be used for loans to Latin America and the Caribbean to purchase vaccines. For the region. Now, people, I don't understand why China, the country solely responsible for this catastrophe we are facing, is so willing to set aside $1 billion loan for the Caribbean. This sounds sketchy to me. Now, I'm no conspiracy theorist, guys. We don't believe in conspiracies here at the Unveil Studios. But the Chinese people are very interesting. many Caribbeans would argue that they want to use our regions for testing grounds for this vaccine before they release it to the States and other parts of the world. What do you guys think about that? If the vaccine comes, will you be taking it? If they say you need the vaccine to work, what will you do? What will you do? The Bahamas government postpones Junkanoo parades. That's unfortunate. The Bahamas government has postponed the national Junkanoo parades for the 2020 to 2021 season, inclusive of the New Providence annual Boxing Day and New Year's Day Junkanoo parades until or unless it is safe for group gatherings. That's the quote. As a result of the coronavirus pandemic, the government also announced that all parades normally hosted on the Family Islands have been postponed. Now, I've been living in the Bahamas for about 10 to 15 years. And to be honest, I never went to Junkanoo. It's far too dangerous for me, as a young man. Usually when you go to Junkanoo, some bad things happen if you don't get a ticket or if you don't sit on the stands. You could be walking with your girl, bro, and guys just grabbing a bungie, Grabbing a bungie, and you can't do nothing about it. Because if you talk to them, they slapping you in your mouth. That's the kind of guys over there in the Bahamas. Now, it's not all bad, so please, Bahamian people, don't kill us here at Unveil, okay? But moving on into the interesting facts. Did you know that Cuba has the most brands of rum? Most brands of rum? No, bro, I don't believe in this fact. Mr. Producer, you're gonna have to let me look at your facts next week because this is impossible. Cuba has the most brands of rum of any other Caribbean nation. I would have honestly thought that, let's say, Trinidad would have had the most brands, or where else? Well, Barbados? I mean, Caribbean people love their rum, right? But I don't. Wow, that's crazy. Cubanos. Hey, we got any Cubanos here? I don't know any drunk Cubans. You ever seen a drunk Cuban? Let me know. Let me know what's going on. And that's it for the interesting facts. We don't really have much for you today, but that's very interesting. I really didn't expect that. What's trending in the Caribbean? So this week, of course, one of the biggest shows that hit the airways back in the 90s, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had their reunion. And I know that's an American show, but Fresh Prince has been a part of my childhood, and I'm sure it's been a part of many of your childhoods. It was a very interesting watch. You guys should check it out. One of the most interesting things that I saw was the interview between the first Aunt Vivian and Will Smith. Now, I don't know how many of you remember the switch. I think the first Aunt Vivian was for about 3 seasons, and then right after they switched. So they had a long talk about, the 30-year-long beef. And one of the things that I realized, she talked about colorism in the industry. And we did touch on that last week. Somebody asked a question about colorism. She talked about them not just switching her out because she was difficult to work with, but as a black woman, switching her out with somebody that is light skinned, right? And, that whole situation kind of derailed her career for about 20, 30 years. So you guys should definitely check out that reunion, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Shout out to Will Smith. I wonder if he's going to watch this podcast. Y'all think so? Moving on to the question box. Let's see what you guys have for me today. We have a pretty short show today, so not going to be much. But let's see what's in the question box. Question number 1. Should there be more joint Caribbean sports teams Like the West Indies cricket team? That's a good question. That question coming from my Bayesian brethren. I don't see his tag on this thing. But let me answer that for you, bro. I don't know how well that is going to work out. I honestly think that the Caribbean will have a very difficult time trying to put a team together. Imagine putting together a track team, right? And the track team only has 5 Jamaicans. I mean, Jamaica has the best track runners in the Caribbean, in the world. So I don't think that's going to work in that regards. When it comes to basketball and other things, maybe. But even so, West Indies cricket has proven to be relatively unsuccessful. The guys join the forces. They often lose. We're not surprised when they lose. We're actually surprised when they win. I don't think we want that kind of embarrassment with any other sports. So we're going to just stick to cricket, all right? Which Caribbean country has the best beaches? What a question. All right, so I dipped my toes in a few sandy areas, you know. I like to get my feet wet. You don't like to get your feet wet? The guys in the studios don't like to get their feet wet. Ladies, they don't like to get their feet wet. Which Caribbean country has the best beaches? Okay, so living in the Bahamas for 10 to 15 years has shown me a certain quality of, beach lifestyle and vacation lifestyle. I've yet to come across a beach that's better than any of the beaches in the Bahamas. But to be fair, I've only been to a few Caribbean islands, right? Now, my Bayesian audience in the studio looking at me like, bro, you gotta mention Barbados Beach because we got the best beach ball here. But I've never been there, bro. So I'm gonna say y'all number 2 on the list, Bayesians. I'm sorry. Bahamas number 1. Cayman can go on, but yeah, Cayman can go on. Number 3, do you think the curfew should be extended in Jamaica for the holiday season? A rather interesting question. The holiday season is a very dangerous time here in Jamaica. And to be honest, now I am in no way trying to give the Prime Minister advice. But Mr. Holness, consider how much crime will increase if the curfew isn't lifted for the holiday season. Around Christmas time, a lot of people here make their money trying to sell back stuff to get things for their kids. And I don't think a $10,000 grant is going to cover that this lap. It didn't really work in the quarantine, so I think you guys should look into that. Question number 4. Why aren't sports taken more seriously by parents of Caribbean children? And this is coming in from Purple Frenzies. Listen, when y'all make it Instagram handles, people, if it ain't properly, don't send me no question, you understand? Because I can't read this. Purple Frenzies with a 3 at the end. You could check that out on Instagram. Why aren't sports taken more seriously by parents of Caribbean children? I've been playing sports all my life, guys. And, I just think that a lot of Caribbean parents don't believe that much in their children's ability. Usually we get to play on sports teams for our schools and our universities, and that's about it. Parents aren't necessarily willing to allow their children to, travel to the States and other parts of the world where they can actually get that kind of exposure they need. So I think that's one of the reasons. Outside of that, I really don't know what the issue is. The Caribbean has proven to be, creators of some of the providers, of some of the best athletes in the world. Usain Bolt, a number one sprinter, is an example. And I think it's something that we should look into. It's really going to help to put the Caribbean on the map even more than it is now. I think we got one more question here, and this one is coming in from John Mark Myrie. A good youth. Big ups to the Mobile side, the east side. Wait, Mobile in the east or west? Big up the east and the west side. Big up my brethren. Do you think the Caribbean is united? Is unified? I think we like to compete against each other, but when it comes to outside regions, you know, trying to attack the Caribbean, that's when we become unified. Outside of that, we don't really like each other. You know, the Bajans don't like the Jamaicans, and the Jamaicans don't like the Trinidadians, and the Trinidadians don't like the Guyanese, and the Bahamians don't like nobody. But just one of them things, man. Just last week, we was talking about how the Antiguans wanted to take the Bajans to the CARICOM board over some foolishness. I actually talked to one of my Bajan brethren about it, and he was actually upset when he watched the episode because he said, "What you want we do? We need people coming in here." And I say, bro, you make sense. You understand? But before we move on to the feature today, let me look at some sports news. All right, I think we got a couple Caribbean guys making their debut in the NBA, and the sports news, of course, coming to us this week once again from the General T.O. Davis. Check him out on Instagram. Yo, T.O. know all the girls in Jamaica. Okay? T.O. know all the girls in Jamaica. If you see a girl on Instagram today and her birthday is tomorrow, T.O. gonna post it tomorrow. I bet you. But it says here, Leon Bailey continued his red hot streak during this past week, bagging an assist for the Reggae Boys in a 2-1 win over Saudi Arabia. Yeah! Last week they lost to Saudi Arabia. So I guess they went back to the drawing board and, you know, got things sorted out. Before scoring for his club, Bayer 04 Leverkusen in another 2-1 win. And his side moved into third place in the Bundesliga race. Now, on the news, I saw a comic, I think it was from the Jamaica Observer, and they were pleading to the Jamaica Football Federation, you know, to step things up because other countries like the US and Mexico, they're waiting, man. Jamaica is known for football, but they have yet to really, you know, perform on the world stage. So we waiting on you, Reggae Boys. The West Indies played their first warm-up match prior to the beginning of the New Zealand tour with a decent showing against New Zealand in a 3-day first-class match that ended in a draw. Nick Richards became only the third Jamaican-born player to be drafted into the NBA, when the GOAT himself, Michael Jordan, drafted him in the second round to play for the Charlotte Hornets. Bare bad word, I got cuss, you know. They're going to have to mute all these Jamaicans. I see the back. Oh, yo, you're going to have to mute that T-Boss. But yeah, they're going to have to mute those guys, Mike, because, you know, Jamaica, when it comes to basketball, I play some basketball with some Jamaicans, and it's dangerous, man. It's not safe. Another player with Jamaican roots, Isaiah Stewart, was selected 16th overall by the Detroit Pistons. And this is actually something that I like to see. I think Jamaica has a lot of talent when it comes to basketball. So I'm kind of happy for this. Hopefully, more recruiters from the States would spend a lot more time in the Caribbean trying to get some of our players out there. All right. Thanks to Theodore once again for that. And right now we're going to move into our feature with the one and only Lisa Hamilton. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. All right. Now, Lisa is a journalist and the chief CEO and founder of Reminiscence Bio, a biography company focused on memorializing. That's a big word. I got a heavy tongue today, guys. I'm sorry. Memorializing the life stories of the ordinary and the extraordinary people around us. Right? We're going to call Lisa right now, see what's going on. Lisa, you on the line? Hello. We got Lisa right here. Lisa, what's going on? Mic check, Lisa. Lisa, come in, Lisa. Hey, Lisa. Oh, you're doing like that. Yeah, guys. So Lisa was actually a member of the Northern Caribbean University. She finished up school about 2 to 3 years ago. I remember when I first came. Lisa was one of those persons that was always busy getting those stories out, putting in that hard work, you know, making it as a Caribbean journalist and now a CEO of her own business. Lisa, you ready for me? Let me hear ya.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Hey Lisa, wagwan. Welcome. It's a long time I hear from you, my friend.
Yes, I'm still alive and well.
So why you gotta talk so stush? You know he's Guyanese, girl. That's what I'm to you.
Your Guyanese accent needs some refining. You spend too much time out of the country.
Well, you know how we do it in the Caribbean. We don't really spend too much time in the country. So Lisa, let's get some things out of the way. So you are a journalist. What is it like in Guyana as a journalist?
My apologies. We're having a very bad thunderstorm. I didn't quite get your question.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, give me one sec. Yeah, so you're a journalist in Guyana. Tell us about that experience. How has it been for you?
Well, I've been a journalist for over 3 years now. I work mainly in print media, but I also work online as well. The experience has been, high and low.
Give me some of the highs.
Well, it's a very active field. You get to meet a lot of important persons. You get to travel all around the world. But some of the lows includes the long working hours. The news doesn't wait until you're available or until you're free to happen. A house doesn't wait until you're free to catch on fire. Everything just happens and you always have to be on the ball, you know.
Well, I mean that sounds good. So do you think that journalism is something that people in the Caribbean should get into, and not just that? Should they stay in the Caribbean, or is it best for them to leave?
Well, I will always be a supporter of the Caribbean and of my country. So anyone who would ask, I would advise them to stay right here and, don't contribute to the brain drain, but to see what they can do to build the media industry right here in the Caribbean. We have some amazing journalists in Jamaica, in Guyana, and elsewhere. And I think that the young ones coming up can learn a lot from them and maybe do it even better than they do it.
Well, that's some pretty good. That's some pretty good stuff. So tell us a little bit about your business, Reminiscence Bio.
Well, Reminiscence Bio is a biography company, which I haven't officially launched the company as yet, but which I started, let's say, in August 2020. The aim of the company is to encapsulate the memories and the life stories of individuals above a certain age into print and video format so that they can be remembered for who they are. so that, even when time runs its course and those folks are no longer with us, their children and their grandchildren can learn about them through our biographies.
Oh, well, yeah, go ahead.
How I came up with the idea, my I've never.
Lisa, are you okay? Are you safe? It don't really sound safe on this end.
Pardon me?
You guys having a storm or something?
Yes, and it's not raining. You're just hearing the thunder rolling and the lightning flashing.
Oh, wow.
At least not yet. But yes, I've never met my grandfather on my father's side, and I don't have memory of my grandmother on my father's side as well. These are my grandparents, and I have no memory of them apart from what my father or an aunt would tell me. So when I was thinking about that, what came to my mind was this event that I covered sometime back. It was a launching of the autobiography of a well-known Guyanese businessman, Dr. Yesu Prasad. And he was able to publish his biography, and it was a very big event. So then I thought to myself, some years in the future, everybody has a story. Whether you're an established businessman or a farmer or a teacher or whoever you are, you've lived, and so you have a story. So in launching the business, I wanted to ensure that the average person, you and I, when we get older, or your parents or your grandparents, have the ability or avenue to pass on their legacy to family members who might never get the opportunity to meet them. And I didn't want my service to be out of reach to the average person. It mustn't be something that only the rich can afford, because not only the rich have a story to tell.
That is definitely true.
So, yes, so I did. I interviewed my first two clients in August, my grandfather, who's 86 years old, and a family friend. And right now, I'm just testing the waters to ensure, I'm able to put forward quality work, seeking out possible partners, and eventually I will launch the business when I feel it meets the standard that I want to maintain.
Well, that's some pretty good stuff. It's actually a brilliant idea. But one thing, in the Caribbean, this kind of thing isn't necessarily considered important. I've never even seen or heard anything about my family beyond my grandparents. Why do you think something like this isn't important to people in the Caribbean?
Well, I think as as how it is for most developing countries, we only focus on what I would say are the necessities. Like, you need food and water, so you're going to put all of the importance on that. Something, for instance, like mental health, counseling, and all these things. The Caribbean doesn't place a lot of importance on that. It's not because it's not important, but usually it's because developing countries, where persons can't afford the best, they usually just focus on what are the necessities. But even so, as I would have mentioned, my service, I don't want it to be unattainable to the average Guyanese. And I know that knowing about your grandparents or the people who went before you is very important. If I were to stress on it further, that the Caribbean came out of slavery. Many of us, though we were born in Jamaica or Barbados or Guyana, we this is not where we're originally from, and
Yeah.
we don't even know our history when it dates back to Africa. That's taking it way further. But what's really stopping us from ensuring that you you keep the memory and the life story of your grandparents, so that when you grow up or when your child grows up, you can read about what they did and maybe even find inspiration from it. If he or she could have done that, what's stopping you?
Well, that is definitely true. And like you rightfully said, the Caribbean has a lot of history. Caribbean has a lot of history, and it is very important for us to be able to It's very important for us to be able to share that history with the generations to come. So that's it for the interview today, Lisa. Thanks for coming. But before you go, I got one more question. I need a journalist's perspective on this, because this has been a topic that has plagued the Caribbean for years and years to come. Chicken curry or curry chicken?
You know, sometimes I get so confused. I know there's a difference between how the Trinidadians say it and how Guyanese say it. But
what do you think?
Guyanese say it.
What do you think is right? I'm going with what the journalist says.
Chicken curry. We can have
That's right.
a long debate.
That's right. You understand? All right, Lisa, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem. All right, catch you later.
All right, take care.
So you heard it here, folks. Chicken curry is the right thing to say, straight from the journalist's mouth. And you know, the reasoning behind that for me is because, like I always tell people, you curry the chicken. So the chicken is curried. That's why it's chicken curry. Huh? No. No, it ain't about. Listen, if y'all can say that, don't come back in the studio. All right, that's it for today's episode, guys. Make sure you tune in next week for another excited episode of the Unveil podcast. Thanks again to Lisa Hamilton, one of the big journalists out here in the Caribbean, for joining us today. I know we want to wish her the best of luck as it relates to her business. That's it for today's episode. Until next time, see y'all later.
If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification bell to keep up to date.